The Economic Development and Small Business Subcommittee on Housing will now come to order. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Coleman.
Here.
Representative Stevendorf.
Here.
Stone. Scott. Andrews.
Here.
Grant.
Here.
Surnaglu.
Here.
Aragona.
Here.
Zorn.
Here.
Fink.
Here.
Boyer.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 members present and a quorum.
Thank you. Representative Andrews moves to adopt the minutes from the meeting on October 5th. The meeting minutes from October 5th are adopted. Today we will be hearing testimony on House Bills 5029 through 5033, introduced by Reps. McKinney, Coffia, Snyder, Puri, respectfully, and McKinney, respectfully. For testimony, we have Director of MSHDA, Amy Hovey, and Mark Garsha. If you'd like to come up, please. Well, thank you, Director, for being here. And you brought up Clarence Stone and Jeff Sykes from MSHDA who wish to speak and support the bill. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the time this morning and allowing us to provide some comments on the bills that have been reintroduced. I'm going to take the first couple, and then I'm going to have my experts come in on the other three bills, actually. The majority of these bills are technical in nature, tweaking our existing programs so that they can be more effective and better used throughout the state of Michigan. The first bill I want to talk about this morning is House Bill 5031, the Resident Board Member Voting Rights. MSHDA administers the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which requires housing authorities to have a resident board member, meaning we need to have a board member that takes advantage and uses the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which we have had on our board. However, our current act limits that board member to only voting on issues that involve the administration, operation, or management of the federal public housing programs in Section 8 tenant-based programs, which we don't take up very often. And the importance of having someone with lived experience on our board is getting their input and their thoughtfulness on all of MSHDA's programs. So what we are asking for with the passage of 5031 is to allow that board member to have voting rights on all issues coming before our board. So we can better have that input taken into consideration. It's just a matter of equity. It's a small tweak to our existing act that we're asking for passage of this morning. The next bill I'd like to address is 5032, the sales price increase for our single family mortgage product. This is a reintroduction which passed the House last year almost by consensus. We have not asked for a sales increase since 2009. During that time, the cost of a single-family home has gone up 176%. So during that period, our ability to increase our mortgage amount has not gone up at all. We're asking at this point for that amount to be tied to the IRS index at 90% of their allowable mortgage amount for a tax-exempt mortgage product. This increase will allow us to serve more families across the state in all areas of our state. Right now, the current mortgage prices are just over $200,000, which is not the average cost of a home in many of our regions across the state. And just as a reminder, our mortgage product also comes with the availability of a $10,000 down payment assistance, which helps families to be able to pay for closing costs in order to get into a home and actualize the dream of home ownership. It is limited to first-time home buyers. And in our market today in Michigan, it is very difficult for folks at 120% and below area median income to purchase a house throughout the state. And this increase will make it just a bit easier. With that, I am going to pass this off to Jeff Sykes, our CFO, to talk about.
All right, good morning. So what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about a scenario that often every so often takes place, and then talk a little bit about how this bill could resolve that issue. So the authority actually sells variable rate bonds as a portion of
Wait,
the debt.
It's Bill 5030, just to clarify.
Sorry about that, Bill 5030. So the authority, as part of its debt issuance plan for funding our single-family and multifamily developments, issues about 20% of that debt as variable rate. So this debt resets oftentimes on a weekly basis. From time to time, there are disruptions in the market. For example, in 2008, when we had the Great Recession, and then also with COVID. And typically, what ends up happening in those types of scenarios, when there's a market disruption, you'll see that investors get nervous and there's a flight to quality. We're seeing a little bit of a flight to quality based on what's going on around the world right now, where investors are pulling out of other investments and they go into U.S. Treasuries. Well, the authority has, as a large percentage of our investments, U.S. Treasuries. And we also have this variable rate debt. So under these scenarios, this potential scenario that's taken place a few times, MSHDA will have a few $100 million of Treasury, very short-term investments that are used to make single-family and multifamily loans. Has to be very secure. And we also have our variable rate debt that's outstanding. This flight to quality ends up sending the investment returns down and the expense related to that variable rate debt up. So it creates this sort of imbalance. What this bill would give us the ability to do for very short periods of time is to purchase our own debt. So we could liquidate those low yield investments and purchase our own debt, thereby increasing the return on investment to sort of mitigate that mismatch that's taken place. There are rules, there are federal rules about how long you can hold your own debt. Typically it's 3 months. During these market rate disruptions, the federal government has extended that to a 12-month period of time. So we're not looking at asking for the ability to purchase our own debt for long periods of time. It's just for a short period of time until that disruption is passed. Those two examples I brought up, the Great Recession and COVID, that disruption lasted 3 to 4 months. The Great Recession might have been a little bit more. So I went back and did a little math to see what we could have saved if we had the ability to purchase our own debt during those two periods of time, and it was around $4 to $5 million. So it's not an insignificant amount of income that the authority could have retained by being able to purchase its own debt.
And then we have Clarence Sohn to talk about the marketable title bills.
Okay, I want to talk a bit about the Marketable Title Act. Basically, this allows a person that's purchasing property to purchase it free of restrictions or claims if the restriction or claim was imposed on the property 40 years or more in the past. And if you want to preserve that restriction or claim or interest, you have to file currently a notice of claim of interest, which describes the interest. The challenge here is that we have a large portfolio of properties, and the concern is that if we impose restrictions that are called covenants that run with the land, that ensure that a property is preserved for people of low and moderate income. These are covenants that we can enforce in court. If there's a failure to file that notice of claim for one of those properties, then you no longer have the means to ensure that that property will remain affordable. In a nutshell, it means that that property could become marketable. And that's something that we want to avoid given the housing crisis for affordable housing. If, let's say, we were not able to get, let's say, the legislation that's currently in the bill, House Bill 5209, we would have to do an exhaustive review of our files to make sure that we are filing notices of claim for all properties that have the income and use restrictions. And even if you try to be very, very thorough, you always run the risk that you may miss a property And that's a risk that we just can't afford given the affordable housing crisis that we have today. So the exception for MSHDA is very, very helpful because we see this as a means of ensuring that we don't have that risk of losing affordability.
Thank you, Director and gentlemen, for your testimony. Members, are there any questions at all? Okay, seeing no questions, appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dan Griswax from Michigan Mortgage Lenders Association wishing to speak in supporting the bill.
Thank you. My name is Dan Griswax. I'm a Mortgage Lender Association representative. I work for Mortgage One. We are an independent mortgage lender, one of the largest MSHDA lenders in the state. I'm here to support the bills 5029 through 5032 on behalf of the Michigan mortgage lenders, particularly the down payment assistance program to have the sale price limits increased. Affordable housing has gone, the cost of housing and housing related items have gone up over 35% since 2020. And getting people into affordable homes, it's hard to get them into the current sale price limit at $224,500 since the average sale price is closer to $250,000. And trying to find a house in the low $200,000 range that's adequate housing for families is tough to do. So this is a valuable bill to us, and we'd like to see this passed. I know this aligns with Governor Whitmer's affordable housing. She's been a proponent of affordable housing. I know this has been a stated goal of hers, and so these bills align with those directives that she has. So that's all I have. Any questions? Thank you.
Next, we have Dawn Crandall from Michigan Home Builders Association of Michigan wishing to speak in supporting the bill.
Really? You can't get that right?
Yeah, tongue-tied.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Crandall. I'm the Executive Vice President of Government Relations for the Home Builders Association of Michigan. And in case you are unaware, we are in the middle of a housing crisis. And as I was doing a little research on House Bill 5032, which we are here in support of, little fun fact, my first mortgage was a MSHDA mortgage when I bought my first house. And as I was doing a little research, that price of the house in the 10 years since I have sold it has doubled. And it was a 900 square foot 2-bedroom, cute little bungalow in Colonial Village. So as we look at the increasing the home prices, we see that home prices have continued to increase, and we support this bill because it will allow more people to get into that home ownership and continue to build up. I'm happy to take any questions.
One question from Representative Fink.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify, you're only speaking in support of, was it 5032?
At this time, yes.
No position on the others?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jonathan Evans from People Experiencing Homelessness wishing to speak in supporting the bill.
Hello, thank you for your time. So I meant literally people experiencing homelessness. It's not a group. So it's nice to see you. I am not really familiar with the finer details of these. Some of those seem okay. But I'd really like to just talk about structural issues related to homelessness. And I know my shirt is kind of funny, rent is too damn high, and like my hair is kind of funny and all that, but I need you to just give me the benefit of the doubt and just listen to some of these issues while I have your attention. So thank you for that. So I worked in homelessness intervention and prevention before the pandemic, and so there was a housing crisis already before the pandemic. So the bills that I'm not sure if you passed before, which were related to giving protections for people who are unhoused, did that pass? No, it didn't pass. Was it voted on? Okay, so I'd like to speak in favor of that as well. So that bill is about giving a civil pathway to people who are unhoused so that they can leverage it against those who would otherwise treat them and their property and their children with malice or indifference, which is something that often happens. So there are several systemic and structural issues that are the reason why there's so many people who are unhoused, and I hope I can maintain your attention here for a moment.
Jonathan, are you speaking to the bills that we're talking about today?
No.
Okay, we're gonna have to have you come back another time then when we're, you spoke at some of our more recent
I know.
hearings. Yeah.
I spoke, and I had like 2 minutes to speak. I'd like another 2 minutes to speak, sir.
I'll give you 1 minute.
All right. So please give me some respect, okay? All right. So property and landowners are financially incentivized to sit on empty properties for decades until they appreciate, regardless of the impact on the community and local economy. This committee is for economic development and housing. Those issues are connected, but maybe not always for the reasons you think they are, like building housing, building new housing all the time. It's about working on the properties that we have now. By a show of hands, how many have you heard of domicology? Anybody? None of you have heard of domicology? So domicology is the study of the life cycle of buildings and land. In East Lansing at Michigan State University, the first professor to coin this term and study it intensively is right there in East Lansing. So I would encourage any of you who are interested to talk to that professor about the sustainability of using land and not letting property owners sit on it. I have plenty more reasons, so I'm just going to start reading them until you cut me off. Landlords are protected by middle management of property managers who protect the owners at the expense of the tenants and are doing so to themselves earn a living and have housing. Federal and state government are hemorrhaging money without solving the problem for two reasons. One, we're purchasing hotel stays for people experiencing homelessness. And two, our housing programs, including those for people with disabilities, contract from for-profit landlords who are incentivized to pass costs on to their tenants in order to make the maximum profit. The government is losing money on this endeavor, not solving the issue of homelessness, and putting vulnerable people, especially disabled people and families, at risk. Landlords control the quality of environment that people live in, but are not held to any type of oath or licensure for keeping human beings safe in their homes, the same way
Jonathan.
Doctors take an oath because of the responsibility of their control over people's physical bodies.
Thanks, Jonathan. That's going to be it today.
How is housing different than doctors?
Okay, I just have some other cards to read in. Not wishing to speak, supporting the bill, Brad Ward from Michigan Realtors. Not wishing to speak, supporting the bill, Alex Morris from Michigan Bankers Association. Not wishing to speak, supporting the bill, Henry Wolf from Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance. Not wishing to speak, supporting the bill, Nikki Devitt from Petoskey Regional Chamber. Not wishing to speak, supporting the bills, Henry Wolf from Traverse Connect. And not wishing to speak, neutral on the bills, Kyle Richard from Rent is Too Damn High. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna see if any members have any concerns or questions that we might have. Do any members want to speak at all?
Mr. Chairman, I just got a quick question.
Go ahead.
You ripped through a couple of those cards. They all seemed in support. Were they in support of the entire package? I just want to double check.
Yeah. These are. Let's see. Yeah, they're all in support of the entire. Well, except for Brad Ward's is just 5032 from Michigan Realtors. The other ones are for the whole package.
Got it. Thank you.
Anybody else? I had most of the same question. Okay. And Rep. Andrews.
Will we have a chance to hear from the bill sponsors at some point on these? I just have some structural questions that I'd like to.
We can do that at another.
Awesome. Thank
meeting.
you.
Sure. Yeah. We'll try our best to do that. Yeah. Okay. So not seeing any absent members. We don't need to excuse absent members. There being no more business before the committee will stand adjourned. Thank you.